Hey, good morning. I'm going to show you what a Jeep CRD head gasket replacement looks like, along with all the trimmings. Just going to give you a little preview of what it looks like before it's tore down. Got a 2006 Jeep CRD. This one has been sitting for many years. Dad gave us some Wrangler tires. We're going to try to put those on there. This is an absolute mess. Oi. It was a nice Jeep before the head gasket went out. No one wanted to work on it. Pheasant. As you can see, we got a radio right there, aftermarket, all kinds of stuff in here. This thing has been sitting. Back window blew out. Also the deflector that keeps your back window clean blew out. So we got this window from a junkyard. We're not a fan of skulls or this. Inside the home shop, we've got this engine. It's the exact same engine, all tore down to the top of the block. Let's go show you what it looks like. You can do it. That hood hasn't been closed for years either. Who knows what we'll find in there. Hey, if you're here, go ahead and hit that subscribe button for us. We'd really appreciate it. We've got all kinds of things here at home that we need to fix, and we've been working on it. We got this Ford right here, OBS style. It's got a transmission out. We might just try to do that one ourselves too. Okay, here's the moment you've been waiting for. We got the 4 injectors. This is in order, front to the back. We've got the rockers. These here were damaged. Some of them are together. Some of them were separated. I could pull them apart. This one right here. There you go. It's supposed to not come apart like that. Under here we've got the intake. You've got your lock pins on each side. This is going to be your exhaust side. That's going to be your intake side. Got a turbo hose right here. We've got the timing belt cover right here. It's got a little gasket that's froze on there. We've got a replacement for that. Then you got your fuel rail. You've got your fuel line. This one right down here connects to the fuel pump. It's a high pressure pump, of course. This one goes into the fuel rail right here. Then we got our timing parts components. We've got our 2 timing belt idler pulleys, or yeah, I think that's what they're called, idler pulleys. Right here we've got the timing belt tensioner pulley. And I got a new, it's got a mark on it, but it's no paint there. We've got a new tensioner pulley. Then you've got your cams. I don't know if this is the intake or if it's the exhaust cam pulley, I should say. These are interchangeable. The 2 cams are in here. The exhaust cam's right here. The intake cam's right there. I could flip it over and show you, but it's a little heavy to do with one hand, of course. Coming down here, you got your Garrett turbo. You can see it says Garrett right here. This is going to be an OEM turbo. Sasquatch.com or SasquatchParts.com has an aftermarket turbo that's supposed to help with oil coking. I think that's how it's pronounced, where it won't do that, and it's a little more heavy duty built. And then along with the turbo, to get the manifold off, the exhaust manifold, we had to take the turbo return oil line off. This part right here goes to your turbo. This right here goes into the block. Got your turbo gasket. And then right here is a mount that the turbo goes onto. There's only 3 bolts for the mount, and there's 4 bolts on the turbo. 1 goes to the mount, 3 of them go to the manifold. And then here's your exhaust manifold right here. This is the gasket. We got a new one of these from idparts.com. Not a sponsor, but if you're gonna get parts for this, it's either SasquatchParts.com or idparts.com. Here's your exhaust manifold. We'll clean up this mating surface. It's going to go back on. This has a EGR delete, so that's just capped off. Here's a head gasket. It's a no-hole head gasket, and from what I understand, this is the most unreliable head gasket that you can have on your Jeep Liberty CRD. So we'll put these back. The turbo, hey Mooser, can you come over here, buddy? Good boy. Got a couple heat shields. This one sits over your exhaust manifold. This one sits right behind your turbo, and it shields your crank sensor from the heat. Got the intercooler OEM sitting over here. You can't get those anymore that I know of. Got the inner grille with the headlights and fog lamps. If you're going to replace your lights, you can do it right now. Got the bumper cover. It's got the side markers built right in. Over here we've got the fan assembly. And we've got the fan shroud. If you're updating to I think it's an 11 blade GM fan, you're going to make a cut right down here at the bottom of this. And then that will allow that fan to sit in there. It's lightweight, it's plastic. Got to get a different clutch as well. Then we got the radiator. That radiator's got a pinhole in it. If you look just over to the side, see we've got 2 hoses there with clamps on them. Those are the turbo hoses. One might be the rad hose. Coming down here, this is when you're getting down to the final stages. You've got your intake. Check that, you've got your head. So this is obviously underneath. You can see the valves right here. If you go to the top side, which is actually on the bottom right now, that's going to be where your rockers sit. Look at this little guy. Leave you. And here are your glow plugs, 2, 3, 4. Get those on ID Parts, or you can get them on SasquatchParts.com. I think these are the SasquatchParts.com glow plugs. They're about $119 for a set of 4. And they are Bosch brand. Here's the old head bolts. These are torqued to yield, meaning these threads stretch. These were all torqued down. They were very tight. We got new ARP studs from IDparts.com. Down here you can have your water pump. This is a low hour Graph water pump. Bolts are different lengths, so keep them in there. Then you get your thermostat. You can actually get these to be serviceable where you can unbolt and replace the thermostat and put different thermostats in there. This is going to go into his bed. Here we got the fan clutch right here. Got the fan. We've got the bolts, which are different sizes. What else do we got? Here we go. Air box, air filter. Going to replace that. This is going to be a clamp for the turbo downpipe. Goes onto the back of your turbo. Got a couple idler pulleys. You got your intake plug and your exhaust plug. These go into the intake. This is what you unbolt. It's got, I think it's a 5 hex. Unbolt that when you're going to put your 2 locking pins in. 2 mystery bolts. Those what happened right away when I was taking stuff apart. Just has to do with the bumper assembly. Pretty sure. Got some fan assembly bolts, fan shroud bolts, top rad support bolts. That says headlight. How will we do that? Nice. Could be. These are going to be your intercooler fastener bolts. And then here's your PCV valve. It's got a paper towel stuffed in there. This is your viscous heater. These you can't get anymore. They're about $450 new. You cannot get them anymore. So if yours starts leaking, or in this case, pulley's making a little bit of noise, or the bearing is, I should say. You can delete these. It's going to be your crank shaft pulley. Never mind. This is going to be your power steering pulley. This is your crankshaft pulley. Again, same size bolts here, same size bolts here, 10 mil, 10 mil. This is going to be your serpentine belt tensioner. I think this one is still good. We're putting it back on. It's a radiator hose. It's going to be an upper radiator hose, and you got your hood latch. You got another heat shield. Where does this one go? Where did this one go? Let me think here. That one goes somewhere. I can't remember where. Won't be hard to figure out as I put stuff back together, though. It'll be okay. Battery hold down, radiator support, your grill, inner grill, alternator, fuel return, fuel filter, bracket. Alright, you ready for it? Remember, you can do this. Just one nut, one bolt at a time. Do your research. Have your tools available. I had this fuel injector puller, but I didn't even need it. But you do need your CRD timing belt tools. Here's that puller. And this is your camshaft counter tool. Basically, they come out like this. You hold it while you loosen up your crank, or your camshaft pulleys. The camshaft pulleys, I should say. Otherwise, you'll bend those locking pins. This is it. I've got an aftermarket transmission cooler on here, so that's just hanging right now. We've got the AC condenser. You don't need to disconnect your AC right here. These will bend out of the way as needed. Down here, lower radiator hose. This is where your water pump goes. The assembly stays right there, your housing, but the water pump bolts right on. You got a little seal in here. Turbo hose, turbo, all that was on this side. Here is the turbo oil inlet line. Mounts to the top. I left the bolt in there. The other line comes right down here towards the bottom. And if you can look, if you can see right kind of down here, that's going to be your crank sensor. Your cam sensor comes right up here and it's in the back. Of course, that is on top of your intake, which is pretty heavy. Your intake's actually heavier than the head, which is right down here. This is going to be the deck or the top of your block. And as you can see, we have coolant in this. I think that was just from removing the head. This coolant was sitting in there, and I believe that is because we had a head gasket leak. At least that's the hope. You don't want to have any cracks. I didn't see any cracks in the head at all. I didn't see any cracks in the this is the block. I didn't see any cracks in the block. I didn't see any cracks in the head. And everything looks good on the cams. It looks smooth as can be. Good to go. I labeled everything. If you don't know what something is, or what it exactly goes to, just put a number on it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Just put it on both sides. Here's your connectors, split them apart. Number 1, number 1, number 2, number 2. This is the air box. This is the viscous connector. This is a microphone that I should probably be using. Up here you've got your exhaust manifold nuts. They're copper, so they don't seize, and they did not seize. I only used heat on one of them. These were the copper nuts that were connected to the turbo. And you get all new ones when you order the kit from idparts.com. Just got a few tools up here. Put those away as you're using them so you don't lose them. What else can I tell you? You got to take the air box off, and I took the coolant reservoir off. And here is your down pipe for your turbo. Here's an oil cooler, I believe. Yeah, it's looking good. I did disconnect the fuel filter and fuel primer because I just wanted to be able to push it out of the way a little bit more. I don't think I needed to do that. And when we work on that Jeep outside, that silver one that I just showed you, which has been sitting in the elements for a long time, I wouldn't be surprised if we've got some rust up there on the top, in the intake, right on the top of the head where the rockers are. I hope not. Hopefully a brass brush will clean it off. Speaking of that, when you go to clean off your head on this Jeep Liberty with the 2.8 liter diesel, you do not want to use anything to clean it off except for brass brushes. And the recommendation is to use a brass cup brush. A brass cup brush. So I picked up this set from the local hardware store. So you clean it off with your brass cup brush, and then you use the copper sprayway, check. Once this is all cleaned up and dry as can be, you will spray it down with this copper spray a gasket. Now this isn't going to be your gasket, but you're going to spray it on your head. I am going to mask off the cylinders right here. You really don't need to do that. You can spray it in there from what I've been told, and it will burn it off right away when it starts up. No big deal. But I'm just going to mask these off real quick, just the 4 cylinders. Spray this on there so it's covered nicely. Then once that's done, you come down here to the surfaces on your head. You spray the bottom of the head where the valves are. Don't spray the top where the rockers, the lifters are. Once the block is prepped, the head is prepped, you're going to take your new gasket, you're going to spray both sides with this. You're going to let it sit until it gets tacky. You're going to put it down. You'll have your new ARP studs in. If you go OEM, it's probably a mistake because you have to buy new OEM head bolts anyways. And everything that I have researched is these right here are your main culprits for head gasket leaks. So if you don't want to go in there again, or hopefully don't want to go in there again, depending on how long you have your Jeep, I don't know how long the life expectancy is, but I would say for hundreds of thousands of miles if you do it the right way, and if your block and your head are true, then get the ARP studs from idparts.com. Might be able to get them from sasquatchparts.com. I'm not sure about that. This block cannot be decked at all. This head cannot be decked at all. They are very specific. Maybe I shouldn't say that the block can't be decked. Maybe that can be. I've never seen it done in my research. This right here, you cannot deck this at all because its tolerance for being resurfaced is 0 thousandths. If you take anything off more than 0 thousandths, which is nothing by the way, you will get right into your valves. So you cannot touch it. These will not warp unless you severely overheat them. So no cracks found here, no cracks found there. We are not taking it to a machine shop. I'm going to do a video on cleaning it up. Shortly I'm going to be vacuuming this off, brushing it down with the brass cup brush and my drill, slow speeds, and we'll make sure we get everything sucked out of the cylinders, and we will be ready to spray it down with that copper coat. Anyways, I hope this video helps you guys out. You can do this in your shop. Look at this. We've got house siding in here, a couple three-wheelers getting worked on. Look at the hood sitting right there like that. We don't live in the world of perfect. We live in the world of being realistic and not needing everything to be perfect. But I can tell you one thing, this is going to be done the right way. Make sure when you have the reassembly going together, you have a torque wrench to torque it down. I've got a brand new one right here. This one costs $89 plus tax. 50 to 250 foot-pounds of torque. The reason I did that is because long ago I made the mistake. I've got that same torque wrench right here. But you know what I didn't have quite a while ago? I didn't have a breaker bar. So on a project, I used that torque wrench to break away a couple bolts. And that will mess up your torque wrench calibration. You want to be perfect on these. There's going to be a little bit of leeway because your torque wrench might not be exactly perfect. Might be just a couple to 3% off. But other than that, you want it to be no more than that. So thank you guys so much for being here. Hope the video helps you out, helps you see what you're going to be getting into. It's not a big deal. Give yourself some time to do it. It took me about 4 days to get to this point in time. Not 4 full days, but 4 days of working on it for a few hours here, a couple hours there, a few hours here. 8 hours to 10 hours to tear down, maybe. That's about it. Hit that subscribe button for me if you would. It really helps encourage me to keep making videos that hopefully help out others. Have a wonderful day, and we'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.